Hello everyone, welcome to a new series that I'm going to be doing. I don't know how often it's going to be, but this is Rant. This is basically just where I talk about something for a very long time and there's very little edits. So the only thing I'm going to be cutting out is the blank spaces in between my sentences so it's not boring. And any mistakes that I happen to make on speech, because I'm not very good at that. But anyway, I'm going over the new experimental card tournament. This is comprised of a whole bunch of streamers. They got together and they made a patch for a tournament that they're going to be making. And in my opinion, it's a little bit biased and memey. And I don't think this was the best foot forward, but if we look at the roster here, I have no idea who any of these people are. No offense. Whenever I heard that they were getting streamers to make a patch, I was expecting like Flats or Fitzy or Emong, all of the big streamers, kind of the ones that everybody knows. And that's usually what they do if you go to something like people that make surprise appearances on CarQ for, he gets streamers that specialize in those characters, right? So we got Fitzy, there's Samito, there's Jane, there's SK. There's a whole bunch of characters. We might actually not want to invite Samito. He is a little biased, but it could be fun having like everybody. I wouldn't care if he was in that. But what struck me as odd was that this was just a bunch of people that I have not heard of before. So I'm not really sure what they do, what their agenda is, right? But anyway, the whole patch that they're trying to make, it seems to be extremely centered towards dive. It seems really, really biased towards dive, and some of the changes that they make, they just are uber weird. So I'm going to be going through all of these changes and altering some of them to see what I think would be the best patch in those circumstances. And now some of the characters, they have no changes, like Doomfist. I'll be leaving those off because those are like a whole topic amongst themselves. And there's actually all of the problem characters. They didn't get changed much. The only one that really did was Brig, and it wasn't that drastic. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and start. So the first one is Ana, and the maximum ammo was increased by 2. This is, this is alright. I'm fine with this, as an Ana player myself. I have missed those 2 shots greatly. But the other one is Nano Boost can now be used on Ana by hitting the interact key. And I do not like this, because if you're looking at a whole team, you have a Reinhardt, a Zarya, a Doomfist, maybe a Tracer, and a Moira. You can literally nano anybody else, and they will get more accomplished than Ana. What are you going to 2-shot people now instead of 3-shot? Good for you. Somebody else could have used that. And if you're the only one left in the fight to nano boost, maybe you shouldn't use that nano boost. I do not like this change. I do not like Ana being able to nano boost herself, because this leads to no benefit and a lot of trolls. Everyone, all of the troll Anas are gonna just nano themselves and be like, troll Ana, nano boost Ana. Look at the meme. I do not like this. It is very bad. So I appreciate the 2 extra ammo. I do not like being able to nano yourself. It is dumb and bad for the game. I do not appreciate. Now that I think of it, how would this work without target confirmation on? If you don't have target confirmation, does it just if you press the interact key? Because if so, that's really dumb. What if you're trying to go through a teleport and you accidentally nano yourself? That's really dumb. I don't like that. Alright, moving on, we have Ashe. Ashe Dynamite has been reduced. The damage over time that it deals has gone from 100 to 90. So instead of doing 20 damage a second, it does 18. I think that Ashe Dynamite's range, the radius of the explosion, needs to be decreased by 1 meter. It is extremely large. And I may be biased because I play, a lot of characters with high mobility, and I just always seem to be hit by it with Hunter. He's very good at Dynamite. But all of the changes that they make don't seem to address the problem with Dynamite. They're always, it does less explosion damage. It does less damage over time. Because the ability is very easy to actually use. It is not difficult. Maybe there's like a few times where, you're moving and stuff, but it is not a very difficult move to land, and it's huge. So I think that this is not the best. It'll just make her get bob less. But I feel like the explosion radius getting smaller would be better. Alright, Baptiste. These are some of the ones that I do not appreciate. Regenerative burst healing is reduced from 75 to 65, and the last time that Baptiste got a change for his regenerative burst, everyone else takes half healing from it. Baptiste himself takes the full... Wait, no, that's not right. Everyone else takes 75 healing, but Baptiste gets double that. So this... The healing is already super low as is for everyone else. This just makes it so that, in reality, Baptiste does not get as much healing from himself. And I don't appreciate that, because that's his only form of support for himself. And then the other change is Immortality Field no longer protects teammates to a minimum of 20% health. It is instead changed to a minimum of 1 health. Now, this was really interesting, and when I first saw it, I did not think this as a nerf. I thought of this as a buff. Because if you think about it, whenever Immortality Field keeps people at 20%, Baptiste usually can heal those people. And those people give him lots and lots of ult charge. A lot of ult charge. So if you're taking people down to 1 health, this is an even lower threshold for him to be able to heal people back up, giving him more healing. It allows him to get more ult charge out of it. And so then I started thinking, well, if Immortality Field breaks, everybody's going to be at 1. But if Immortality Field breaks now, people are at 20 health. Like, 200 HP targets are down to 20 health. Is that right? No, it's 40 health. They're at 40 health, right? What increment of damage would that extra 39 health be teetered towards? You know what I'm talking about? Like, maybe a shotgun character, or maybe D.Va from afar. What would be different so that Genji dash would not be able to still finish off that person? What is the different ability that they're gearing this change towards? Because most things in the game that would kill someone at 1 health would kill them at 40 health. There's very few things that would not. So I'm thinking about it. Like, Soldier Primary Fire, you'd have to hit him, 1 more time. How disastrous. But, like, McCree, his damage fall off doesn't really even captivate. Like, at max damage fall off, it wouldn't even be able to do a difference. So I think this is more of a buff change than a nerf, to be honest. But everybody hates Immortality Field anyway, so kind of controversial topic. Alright, we have Bastion. Or the self-repair increases movement speed by 25% while in use. Now, this was interesting, because I actually really like this change. However, it's not going to be very useful when paired up with the Bastion that we have now. Let me find him. So, right now, Bastion's self-repair, they changed it a while back, so that he has less resource meter, but more healing. I feel like if they were going to change this, they should revert that change so that it heals less, but it lasts longer. And you can use it while, not in need of healing. So that way, Bastion could use it to get around more. I feel like that would be a good swap around. Just, this would not pair well with the low resource meter that he has. I feel like they'd need to revert that in order to get it going right. Okay, now we have Brig. We have Inspire Healing to teammates is removed when Brig is eliminated. This will almost, like, never come into play, because Brig doesn't die first. Like, how many times have you been in a fight, like an all-out battle, and Brig dies first? It does not happen. Brig's too tanky for that. So Brig is not going to die first, therefore this would not come into play. Maybe she'll die third or fourth so that you can just eliminate the other tanks, but like it's not. This is a non-issue, I feel like. I do not think that this would do very much. They might as well have just left her on no changes like all of the other problem characters. I am working on a Brig rework video, so do not worry, that is coming up eventually when I get around to it. But right now, this does not do anything. So now we have Diva, booster duration increased from 2 to 3. This is where I think we're starting to get into the more biased parts of we want dive back. Because Diva's boosters, they last a long time. They are a very long ability. And giving her an extra second to it, I don't know. It just feels like it's a bit much. I do agree that Diva needs a little something, but I do not think that it is the boosters getting an extra second. That's just odd. A lot of these changes actually are like non-issues, or changes that wouldn't really do much. And then a lot of them are the big ones where you're like, no, thank you. Alright, so anyway, we got Doomfist, no changes, because, of course, no one wants to change Doomfist. He's perfect the way he is. Alright, we have Echo for Duplicate. I hate this very much. Duplicate. When ultimate ends, Echo will be healed to half health instead of full. I do not like this, because if you are Echo, let's say you ult, so you're at full health and you ult, and you copy a Roadhog, and you're at full health when you are Roadhog, and you come out of your ult, you're going to be at half health for no reason. Where'd that damage come from? Instead, I think it needs to take the health that you had before you went into your ult. So if you're at 150 before you ult, and then you die in the ult, you should be at 150 when you come out. I feel like that's fair. Because everybody's complaining that Echo has 3 lives, and it's basically true. I agree that she needs a little nerf for that. However, just having half health randomly for no reason is, I do not think, conducive to the game. Just very weird. Alright, we got Genji. His alternate fire spread is reduced from 9 meters to 8 meters. I appreciate that, because I'm very inaccurate with the shurikens as is. And Dragon Blade, when Genji gets a kill during his ultimate, the duration is increased by 1 second. So if he kills somebody while Dragon Blading, then he gets an extra 1 second to Dragon Blade. I appreciate this. In fact, before I started playing Overwatch and I was just looking at all the characters, I thought this is how that it worked, but it was not. And this, I don't think will actually change very much. This is probably one of the overhyped things, I assume, that everybody would be talking about. But it really wouldn't change very much. Because Genji, he gets like 1 more slash. So Genji's rate of fire is basically 1 for 1. He swings 1 time per second. So this would give him 1 more slice. Which, honestly, wouldn't do very much. Because if you're a pro Genji, you're going after the squishy people, so you kill 2 squishies, maybe 3, then you go after the 4th, and usually you get all 4 of them. So for this would only be used for cleaning up the tanks afterwards, because you've already won the team fight. You got 2/3 of the enemy team, so the tanks aren't going to take it back. This would only be used for cleaning up the 2 tanks that are left. So I don't feel like it'll actually be that big of an impact. So this I feel like is okay, and this is just a quality of life change I appreciate. Okay, for Hanzo, I do not like this. Dragon Strike. The movement speed is increased by 20%, the damage increased by 20%, and the distance before the dragon forms from the arrow has been lowered from 10 to 5. So it moves faster, it does 20% more damage, and it comes out sooner from the arrow. I do not like this change. I agree that Hanzo arrow is not very useful. It's very easy to avoid. However, one of these changes would have done better. I feel like the movement speed would have been the better choice. But having both of them, Dragon Strike already does an immense amount of damage. So if you make it do even more and is faster, it's crazy. That'll be incredible, and I do not appreciate that. The distance before the dragon forms is just, another quality of life change. It just means that D.Va won't be able to eat it as fast because it'll have a smaller window of opportunity to eat it. I feel like that's fine. So for Hanzo, the movement speed increase is probably the way to go, not the damage, because it already does enough damage. For Junkrat, Concussion Mine minimum damage increased from 30 to 35. I'm not really sure what this is used for. This just is... Concussion Mine will do 5 more guaranteed damage when it hits somebody. I'm not sure what their thought process was on this one. It's just such a minimal change that it's not really worth anything, in my opinion. But maybe there's something else. Maybe there's like a combo or something that works with it. Why would you want to do damage on the edge of the radius? I don't understand. This is just like a quality of life thing again. Alright, we got Lucio. Sound wave cooldown increased from 4 to 6. That's fine. It makes it so that he can't bully the tanks as much, and I guess that's alright. And then Crossfade. This is one that I actually appreciate, and I've been wondering why they haven't done this for some time. So, radius has been increased by 50%, which is huge. We'll get into that in a second. And the effectiveness is increased by 20% at close range, and it falls off the further you get. I like this change. This is one of the things that I have had on the back burner of my mind. Like, what if there was a character that could support people, but the further away they get less? For Lucio, his crossfade is huge, by the way. His crossfade is 12 meters, and with the 50% bonus, it goes up to 18. D.Va Bomb's explosion is 20, so it's only 2 meters less than that as a radius. That's huge. But this means that he'll be able to speed boost people, even albeit by a little bit of a speed boost. Just basically if they're within the vicinity of him. And I feel like that's a good change. Giving people like a 10% speed buff if they're within the same map region as Lucio, I think is fine. If you're right next to him, then you also get an incredible amount of speed boost or healing. I wonder if max speed boost would be applied to Lucio, because that would make him even faster. They'd probably have to shift the numbers around so that he himself speed boosts. Because it's got to be the same amount, because otherwise people are going to run past you. And that doesn't make any sense. So they'd probably have to shift the numbers around so that, nobody's faster than him. But I feel like this is a good change. This is one I appreciate. It's like the only one I like. Alright, McCree got nothing. Mei, maximum ammo increased from 120 to 140. That means she can hold her primary fire for 1 second longer. That one's not too bad. I feel like Mei has actually gone under a little bit in her power. Obviously. But, I feel like this would bring her back up a little bit. I just don't want her to be the problem, the big problem in the game like she used to be. I think she is in a fine place, and this would be a nice little buff for her. For Mercy, this is a meme. And while I don't dislike the meme suggestions, this one actually, I feel like could actually be put into the game. I just don't feel like they've put their best foot forward, and this might prevent Blizzard from doing this again. Because Mercy, killing blows resets Guardian Angel's cooldown. And it's just Genji dash, but on Mercy. So I feel like that was, I feel like that could actually be put in the game and nobody would be upset. Because, like, it's a 2-second cooldown. It's not Genji dash, it doesn't do anything. I feel like that's fine. Moira got nothing, because, she's perfect as is. We got Orisa. I do not like this change. Protective Barrier. Health increased from 600 to 700, and the cooldown has been increased by another second. Okay, Orisa's Barrier is already in a bad state. It is tissue paper. All of the barriers in the game, bar Reinhardt's and Winston's, are terrible. They do not hold up against anything. And Orisa is supposed to be this tank that just sits there and says, come at me. But Orisa can no longer hide behind her barrier. She had one identity, and that was her barrier, and now it's gone. Just an additional 100 health for another second is so disastrous. Here, let me give you a visual aid, okay? Winston's barrier is 700 health, and its cooldown is 13 seconds. So we're making Orisa's half barrier. It has half the coverage of Winston's. No, really a fourth if you think about it. It is a fourth. Now, for all practical uses, it's a half. I'll go with half. For a half of a barrier, this has 2 seconds cooldown off of Winston's. And you might think, well, that's not that bad. But Winston isn't supposed to really use his barrier. He goes in, uses it to protect himself, and then gets out. Orisa can't do that. She has Fortify, but even then, she's still there. She has no get-out plan. And I do not feel like that is conducive to a good tank who's supposed to stay and tank damage. Strongly disagree with Overwatch's let's make all of the tanks bruisers. Because some of them just literally were made to be against those. Like Orisa. She's supposed to tank damage and stay there. Not go in and do damage to people. All of the other tanks I can ideally see being go in and do lots of damage. Even Reinhardt, D.Va, Winston, Roadhog. They can all go in, do damage, and get out. Orisa cannot. She's stuck. I believe, to change this, we should give Orisa 2 barriers. Each with something like 400 or 500 health. And we make it so that if she shoots one barrier out, if she tries to shoot another, the first one will disappear. Just like with Junkrat Concussion Mine. If you shoot out another one, it disappears. I feel like that would be fine with a 10 or 11 second cooldown. It's just like Symmetra turrets where they start charging if you have them out. I feel like that would be alright. But we'd have to test that. Because Orisa with 2 barriers, there's a lot of flexibility with that. You could throw one out, and if, trouble happens behind you, you could throw that one out. Or you could throw one up in the air and then wait, and then you'd have basically 3 barriers. But at 400 health each, they're not going to last very long. I feel like that would be fine. Because right now, Orisa's barrier gets just destroyed in one Junkrat clip or one Roadhog clip. It does not stay. And this 100 extra health isn't going to do all that much if you're setting it back by another 1 second. Time for Pharah. So Pharah got an interesting change. Damage taken while airborne decreases by 5%. Damage taken while grounded increases by 10%. So if you're in the air, you take less damage. If you're on the ground, you take more damage. And I don't really know if I like this or not. Because one, the Pharah takes more damage part will basically never happen. How many times have you seen Pharah on the ground? And especially after the change they just made, where she can stay in the air more. Here, the change they just made so that it's easier for Pharah to stay in the air. Like, you could infinite in the air before, and now you can do it even better. So I feel like this is almost never going to come up. And taking 5% less damage while in the air is going to be just a noob stomper, really. Because Pharah's already oppressive enough when I'm on a team with just the stupidest soldier and Junkrat, and they can't even hit the Pharah. Making it so that she takes 5% less, or 5% less damage while in the air is just going to be disastrous. I agree Pharah needs something to compete with Echo, but I don't feel like a permanent 5% damage reduction is going to do it. It's hard to replace something with Pharah because if you give her anything, she's just going to stomp everyone in the lower tiers. But in the higher play, everyone can just counter her because they got good aim. So I'm thinking maybe while she's in the air, maybe her critical head hitbox makes it so that she has a lower crit to her. If Widow tried to headshot her, it wouldn't one-shot kill. Maybe if it did less. I'm just not sure. Because this is just a difficult topic to change. Reaper, Shadow Step voice line has been removed. Yes, please. Okay, Reaper's Shadow Step is the worst ability in the game. Because it is so loud. You're bright as a lighthouse, and you make like an air siren so that everyone can hear you. Shadow Step, repositioning. You know, nobody cares because they already know where you are now. This, I feel like, would be a good addition to Reaper's kit. Because Reaper's already just... He can't get in position, really. Because he's so loud, and if you can't hear him, you see him. Reaper's missing for 6 seconds. Oh no, where is he? Gotta look around. Oh, there he is. He's on the high ground, teleporting. You know, I feel like this would be a good change. Alright, we got Reinhardt. Earth Shatter. If you're closer to Earth Shatter, it stuns you for longer. Now, I'm fine if we're making it... Because it makes sense. If you're closer to the wave, you're going to get hit more. But I feel like this change should make it so that the further you are, the less stunned you're going to be. Because this is just a flat-out buff so that people close to you are going to take another half second to get back up. And if you're an Earth Shatter and you're in the back, you're usually not going to die immediately. So why not make it so that you at least have a chance of supporting your team? I feel like if this went the further you went out, the least you could get hit would be 1.5 seconds of stun. I feel like that would be fine. But this isn't really a change that I feel like needs to happen either. I feel like the 2.5 is fine where it is. I just... A lot of these changes, they just feel like, we'll just change something because I want to. Roadhog got nothing, and Sigma got nothing. I was very surprised that Sigma got nothing. Because, like, all of the other problem characters, I could see them skipping over. But Sigma is one of the ones that all those people hate. So I'm very surprised that he got nothing. But, anyway. Soldier 76. I do not appreciate Helix Rockets. You can now hold 2 charges. The damage has been reduced so that they each do a maximum of 80 damage. And the damage that you gain as soldier by hitting your own rocket has been decreased to 40%. I don't like this change because 1, I don't think it needs to happen. And 2, giving soldier 2 Helix Rockets gives him more burst. Right? Even if you have 2 rockets at 80 damage, that deals 160 damage, which is much more than the 120 that 1 does. And this, the damage that he gets is reduced so that he will take more damage from his own rockets. And the only circumstance I could see using this against would be like a Tracer or Genji that's on you, like on top of your head, and then just shooting both Helix Rockets into the ground. I do not feel like this is a change that needs to happen. It is odd and not productive and too destructive, and it's dumb. End of story. Why not give Soldier 3 rockets? Because Helix Rockets is 3 rockets, you know? giving him more ammunition is probably not the best, because in my opinion, Soldier is low-key OP already. Nobody seems to notice how strong Soldier is. But we'll carry on. So we got Sombra. They have destroyed Sombra. This is very dumb. This is just a Sombra... I'm gonna be honest, this is just everyone hating on Sombra and just crushing her into the ground. So, hack, the activation time has been increased. So you must hold hack longer to hack someone. And it's basically doubled. It's hard enough to hack people as Sombra. Even in the low tiers, people, at least one person will come and shoot you. And they know that already, so imagine the pros being upset at Sombra. And the duration increasing to 1 second is dumb. If you're going to make this take so long to activate and just give it a compensation of 1 second, that's not enough. If this change was to go in, hack would need to be increased by a drastic amount. Because the ability would basically no longer be able to be pulled off. Except by stupid people who are distracted by their Mei or something. This would almost never land with that activation time. And then the other thing is Translocator's cooldown triggered or when used or destroyed is reduced from 6 to 5 seconds. This is the old Sombra Translocator thing where you couldn't have almost 2 charges, you know, where you'd throw one, it would break, and then you'd have to wait for another one. I feel like the new Translocator that we have now, where you can throw one out and wait for another one, I feel like that is a good thing for Sombra to have. The old Translocator, I do not feel like this is a good change. In my opinion, if you want to make it so that Sombra does less, you don't destroy her into the ground. Instead, I suggest that for Sombra, we make it so that if you interrupt her hack cooldown, it goes on cooldown longer. So instead of just 2 seconds, it goes on for 3 or 4. This makes it so that if you punish her hack, she'll either have to retreat or, survive long enough to get off the second hack, but by then you're just dueling her. This makes it so that Sombra doesn't have the one thing that she's good at. It's like Orisa. If Orisa doesn't have her barrier, she doesn't do her job. If Sombra doesn't have her hack, she doesn't do her job. But anyway, I do not want this. This is bad. This does not spark joy. We got Symmetra. Turret travel speed increased from 15 to 20 meters per second. So the turrets travel faster in the air. This is fine. Just, it's basically quality of life, but the turrets get out there faster. That's fine. We got Torbjorn. This is I feel like another meme change. Torbjorn can hold 2 turrets, and the damage and health of the turrets has been reduced by 40%. So the turrets will now have 100 health, but he'll have 2 of them. I don't like this change because it just feels like a meme, right? It doesn't feel like this won't do anything. Yeah, you'll have 2 turrets, but they won't do anything. It's like Symmetra's turrets, but worse. The damage has been scaled down so drastically much that it's not going to do much. And yeah, I agree. Torbjorn's turret does a lot of damage. It does. It being hit scan as well is extremely aggravating. But I don't think giving him 2 turrets will change. Like, I feel like this is a nerf to Torbjorn instead of a buff. Yeah, you can block 2 lines of sight, but who's not gonna just put 2 turrets together so that they just protect each other, you know? We got Tracer! Yay! Okay, Tracer's health has been increased from 150 to 175, and recall has been given 2 extra seconds. This is too strong. I'm a Tracer main, and I'm saying this is too strong. Giving Tracer 175 health, it may not seem like much, but this means that she has the potential to avoid headshots now from certain characters. Ashe, for one, is able to pop Tracers. Just bop headshot, she's dead. Giving her an extra 25 health will prevent that. And just for the compensation of this buff, they give her 2 extra seconds on recall, is not enough to trade 1 for 1. I do not believe Tracer needs to go up to 175. It is too strong because Tracer, I believe, is the most balanced character in the game, which makes sense because the whole game is built around her, literally. I do not appreciate the 175 health. For Widowmaker, we have a surprise change. So for Venomine, the damage has been increased to 120. The duration has been changed to 6 seconds, and the trigger radius has been increased by 1 meter. I don't like this change. I agree that Venomine is pretty useless, but for the one ability they could have given 2 charges of, they give her 1, buff 1. I do not like this change because 75 damage that Venomine does allows Widow to fully charge body shot someone at 200 HP. Right, 75 damage plus 125 is 200 health. That's fine. If you increase that number, that means Widow will have more time, or less time to actually be able to pull off that combo. Because a full charge shot takes longer to charge than a not full charge shot. The trigger radius, I think, is okay, but given that this change happens, I feel like giving Widow a second Venomine would be more conducive. Like changing the damage a little bit lower, maybe down to 60. That way you could keep the 120 damage if both of them activate. Bringing it down to 60 so that it can't, 2-shot Tracer if she runs into both of them. I feel like giving Widow 2 Venomines would not be that bad. Alright, moving on to Winston. I don't get this change at all. Armor increased by 15 and health reduced by 15. Why 15? Why not 25? Like the new increment we've been using for health changes. Why 15? Who made this? Who thought that having it be 15 was a good idea? What is this change? Damage are you trying to prevent with the 15 extra armor? Why not 25? I don't see the appeal to this change because I can't envision what damage they're trying to prevent by giving him 15 more health. This is like one of the I'm gonna insult a lot of people. The people in the Overwatch Hero Concepts Reddit and the BTC Discord. A lot of people they make changes that they don't understand. This is like on par with characters having an additional 200 health and 1 armor point. It's the characters. This is like coming from the people who want a character with both shields and armor on them by default. And it just feels like it's coming from a place where it doesn't make any sense. Maybe I'm the one who doesn't understand. I have no idea what the intention of this point is, but I can't fathom. Right before this video, I've had like a whole 8 hours to think about what they tried to change, what they were going for with this change. I can't think of it. I can't think of it at all. It's probably like something dumb where it's 1 ability, or a Zarya beam does, 1 extra second to do this damage. I don't get it. I don't know why they wouldn't just increment it by 25. Alright, then we got Wrecking Ball. Surprise change. We got size reduced by 15%. Wrecking Ball will now be small. Ammo reduced from 80 to 70. He'll have less shots, which is fine. Grappling Claw cooldown increased from 5 to 7 seconds. This is like the only one I could see going through, because Wrecking Ball just gets that thing forever. But the last one is the destructive one. Wrecking Ball's adaptive shields no longer prevents enemies from generating ult charge. This is dumb. I do not approve of this, even if he's smaller, because adaptive shields is the only thing preventing Wrecking Ball from being another fat hog. He's not an ult battery. If you make a tank and they go in and do damage and get out, you can't make them an ult battery, or else that defeats the purpose of that character going in if it just exchanges for the other team getting better. The size reduction is I guess to be in compensation for him giving ult charge. But I feel like he's at a fine enough size for a tank even with this change. I don't think it would matter all that much. This is what I'm talking about. It just feels like some of these changes are for memes, right? Reducing his size by 15, making him small ball, I feel like would not change much. This one is the only one I can appreciate because it's very upsetting to reload every 1 second. But the adaptive shields giving ult charge is just dumb. Alright, we have Zarya. Projected barrier range increased from 30 to 34. I'm fine with this. It just makes it so that she can target people a little better. This kind of increment change, where it's an odd number, I don't mind, because it is not only on an ability that doesn't get to change much anyway, but it's also in meters. Meters are different than, damage output or health. It does not affect it as much. Much as I would like it for my OCD to have 35 meters, I am fine with it being 34. And then we have Zenyatta. Transcendent speed multiplier increased from 2 to 2.3. This one, why not 2.5? Because the speed increase that you have is at 2.5 isn't all that much different from 2.3. This one does aggravate my OCD as well. But Zen being faster in Transcendence is okay. I don't feel like it's needed. I feel like he's in a good spot, so why make him faster? But I can understand there have been a few times where a person on my team is dying and I try to Transcendence and they die before I get there. I feel this. It's okay, but I would not see it getting through. Okay, so we've gone through the whole list. I've given my complaints. I've said what should be done instead for most of them. And a lot of them are just, why change? And a lot of them are, why change, So, yes, this is weird science. That's what I'm going for. I do not get their methods on some of these, and I'm not watching this 2.5-hour video to figure out one person's complaint over, oh no, Venom Mine does so little damage, I'm going to buff it greatly. But anyway, I assume that all of these have a purpose for being changed, except for some of them being really, really dumb. But thank you all for watching, and I would like to know your guys' thoughts and opinions down below. So leave a comment on what I may have missed, or if you agree with me on some of these changes, or whatever. Let me know down below, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.